This is New York City, the trade hub of the world, also known as the concrete jungle, and it's also completely out of space. The city and its residents have felt the growing need for more housing for decades now, and as a result have manifested more extreme solutions, of which are plans to extend the land area of New York City by adding over 1,700 acres of land to the tip of Manhattan, and call the area New Mannahatta, which experts estimate could cost upwards of $40 billion and even more. However, the project has seen a lot of pushback and criticism over its practicality. So what's the real story? Is it just a pipe dream, or can it actually solve two of the city's biggest problems? Now, extending and creating new land on coastlines isn't something new. In fact, this practice goes back thousands of years, even in the time of Alexander the Great. In an attempt to capture an island, decided it would be better to create a land bridge instead that would allow for easy passage. Today, that land is no longer an island and is just one long extended coast. Since that time, land reclamation has gotten only more advanced and has allowed coasts of even longer sizes to be created. One of the most famous examples is in Europe, where the Netherlands reclaimed so much land that it actually makes up 20% of their total land size. Just looking at these side-by-side images makes the difference all the more apparent. Of course, the example you're probably thinking about is the artificial palm-shaped islands made in Dubai. These are the more recent examples of this type of mega project. Now, as a side note, these islands are actually sinking because it turns out there's a reason why coasts don't form into this type of shape. Still, if anything, shows the transformative power of land reclamation, and this is where we get to New York. You see, New York is facing a problem, one it's been facing for decades, and that is its housing issue. Although the city boasts an impressive 8.5 million people, it doesn't have the space to accommodate everyone. And that's when one economics professor, Dr. Jason Barr, proposed a solution back in 2022 to terraform the coast of Manhattan by adding 1,760 acres of land that would lay between the Hudson and East Rivers. This proposal would in theory create 187,000 new homes and house almost 250,000 people. In theory, it would take 15 years to create the land itself, and then a few more decades to develop the remaining infrastructure. It's a bold plan, the boldest potentially in the city's history, and as a result it's seen a lot of pushback. Critics claim primarily that the project is unlikely to succeed due to a variety of factors ranging from the economics to the political realities. However, this bold dream for a bigger Manhattan isn't something new. This idea dates back to the 1910s when an engineer, Kennard Thompson, published a piece for a newspaper article calling it a really greater New York, an extension of Manhattan of 2,560 acres or 4 square miles of city surface. Many more papers would follow Thompson's idea, and even more artist renditions began to be published. Of course, the possibility of actualization was low. These early drawings were more or less optimistic visions for the future. Then, in 2011, the first serious take on the idea was published. In November 2011, a research group at Columbia University's Center for Urban Real Estate, or CURE, published LOLO, short for Lower Manhattan. This interpretation was a lot more modest in its design. Instead of 2,500 acres of added land, they only went for 452 acres. And still, the concept never went any further than some local buzz. Even more so with the most recent example, Dr. Barr's proposal. The pushback with all these concepts is the price. The price tag to create an extension of such land in America is massive. Any estimates about its price can easily be doubled by the time the project completes. This point, however, is argued by people like Dr. Barr. He claims that once complete, whatever the price tag can be offset by the new land value that is created, which may be true considering that NYC has some of the highest cost per acre of ground in the world. The second problem he claims that this new Manhattan would solve is the climate problem that NYC faces. To protect against storm surges and flooding, the extension would be surrounded by marshes and wetlands, and would also be elevated to protect itself from future storms. So, is it actually possible to build the thing? Well, yes. Technically speaking, there isn't any issue on the actual construction possibility. New Manhattan would seem like an afternoon project to countries like the UAE and the Netherlands. The issue with mega projects, especially in America, is always the politics involved. It's always the paperwork, rounds of approval, committees, and etc. that end up killing most projects of this scale, especially in a state like New York, which has extensive regulation laws and is famous for taking lots of time for project approval. So, while the project is promising and has had a history of experts calling for its creation, it may take a lot longer than expected to ever get a start to the project. Still, with the talk of extension once again rising, combined with the ever-growing housing issue, New York will have to act drastically if it wants to make any meaningful change in its development.